It started with one drink. Just one. Avery Collins wasn't the kind of woman who did random hookups, at least not until that night. She had just gotten out of a 2-year relationship with a man who made her feel small, invisible, unworthy. And that Friday night, her best friend Tara dragged her to a rooftop bar in downtown Manhattan, swearing it was time to reclaim her power. The bar was sleek, filled with people who probably made more in a day than Avery did in a month. She was a freelance graphic designer, creative, overworked, and broke. So when she noticed a tall man in a tailored navy suit watching her from across the bar, she didn't think much of it. But he didn't just watch. He walked straight up, confident, casual, like he already knew how this would go. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, voice deep and smooth like aged whiskey. Avery glanced at the empty stool. "Now it's not," he laughed. "I'm Dominic. You?" Avery. And that was it. No cheesy pickup lines, no over-the-top flattery, just intense eye contact, slow sips of expensive bourbon, and a conversation that didn't feel forced. He didn't ask for her number. He didn't even offer his. He just suggested they leave. And for reasons she couldn't explain, not even to herself, she said yes. They ended up at the penthouse of the Langford Hotel, a place she only knew from magazines and envy. The sheets were Egyptian cotton. The champagne was cold. And the man. He was unforgettable. By sunrise, she was slipping out of bed, throwing on her dress from the night before. She scribbled a quick note on hotel stationery. "Thanks for the escape." How she didn't even know his last name. But a week later, that one night came crashing back into her world. It started with a missed call from Tara. "Girl, are you sitting down?" Avery was halfway through microwaving leftover noodles. "What? Why?" "Check the news. Right now." She fumbled for the remote and clicked on the TV. It was on mute, so she turned the volume up and froze. There he was, Dominic, standing in front of a row of reporters, looking just as sleek as he did that night, only now with flashing cameras, and breaking news headlines under his name. Dominic Thorne, Billionaire tech CEO, announces secret engagement. Her stomach dropped. The reporter went on. Known for his reclusive nature, Thorne's surprise engagement comes just weeks before the launch of his groundbreaking AI project, Valence. Rumors suggest the relationship has been kept hidden for over a year. Avery dropped the remote. Engaged. He was engaged? She sat down on the couch, heart racing, piecing together everything he didn't say that night. There was no mention of a fiancé, no ring, no sign he had someone else. And now this? She tried to brush it off. A mistake, a weird twist of fate, whatever. But it didn't stop there. 2 days later, she got an email. From unknown, valencetech.com subject. Urgent. Discretion. Requested Avery. Please call me at the number below as soon as possible. This is not a threat, but it is important. You are involved in something bigger than you know, Em. Her hands shook. She stared at the screen. What the hell was happening? She stared at the email for what felt like forever. Discretion. Involved in something bigger? What did that even mean? Avery's instinct screamed at her to delete it, block the sender, forget the night ever happened. But curiosity, no, anxiety, had her heart pounding. What if this wasn't just about her? What if she'd accidentally stepped into some kind of scandal? She clicked reply, then stopped herself. Whoever MR was, they didn't want this. On record, they wanted her to call, so she dialed. The phone rang once, twice, then a voice answered, clipped, serious, older-sounding. "Ms. Collins?" Her throat went dry. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Malcolm Royce. I'm Mr. Thorne's attorney." Avery's body tensed. "What does he want?" "Not over the phone," Malcolm said. "This conversation needs to happen in person." "No offense, but I barely know the man." "Why would I meet his lawyer?" A pause. "Then, because you spent the night with someone who has a lot to lose, and someone else knows about it." Her mouth went dry. "What do you mean someone knows?" "There are photos. You, him, entering the hotel, a leak waiting to happen." Avery's heart sank. She wasn't famous, but she wasn't stupid either. One headline with her name next to Dominic Thorne's could ruin her career, or worse, get her blacklisted. "I want nothing to do with this," she snapped. "That's why I'm trying to help you," Malcolm said. "Come to our office. Hear what we have to say. You'll be compensated for your time." Compensated? Yes, and protected. That word, protected, lingered long after she ended the call. 2 hours later, against every logical part of her brain, Avery found herself in the back of a black SUV, riding uptown to Thorne Industries. The building was all steel and glass, towering over Manhattan like it owned the skyline. Inside, she was ushered past security and into a private elevator. No badge, no buttons. It moved automatically, as if the floor had already been chosen the moment she stepped in. When the doors opened, Dominic was standing there, not his lawyer, not a PR rep. Him. He looked tired, darker circles under his eyes than she remembered. Shirt sleeves rolled up like he hadn't slept in days. "Avery," he said quietly. "Thanks for coming." She didn't smile. "I was told there were photos." He nodded, then stepped aside. "Come in, you need to see this." She walked into a massive office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a table already set up with files, a tablet and a bottle of water. Dominic picked up the tablet and handed it to her. The first photo hit like a gut punch. Her and Dominic in the hotel lobby, close, his hand on her waist. Another showed them kissing in the elevator. One more, her, leaving alone at sunrise. "Where did these come from?" she whispered. "We think someone on the inside leaked hotel footage to a tabloid broker. They haven't gone public yet, but they will. Unless what?" Dominic looked her straight in the eye. "Unless we get ahead of it." Avery narrowed her eyes. "You mean spin it?" He nodded. "No," she said quickly. "Absolutely not. I'm not getting dragged into some PR cover-up. I don't care who you are or how rich you are. This was one night. Dominic leaned forward, his jaw tight. "I understand. But you're involved now, Avery. My fiancé's father is on the board of Thorne Industries. If this gets out before the merger, everything falls apart. Stocks crash, people lose jobs, you get harassed, your name dragged through the mud." She crossed her arms. "And what's your plan? Tell everyone it was fake?" He was silent for a beat too long. "You've got to be kidding me," she said. "You want me to lie?" "Just for a month," he said. "Maybe less. Long enough to let the merger happen and let the headlines die." "And what do I get out of it?" He hesitated. $250,000, tax-free, no strings after the month ends. Avery laughed bitterly. "You really think I'd sell myself for your stock deal?" "You'd be protecting yourself too." She opened her mouth to fire back, but stopped, because in that moment she realized she didn't have a choice. If the tabloids got her name, her face, and twisted the story, her career would implode. She'd already seen how quickly women like her got eaten alive online. So maybe playing along for now was the lesser evil. She stared at him, fire in her voice. "I want 500,000, and I write the exit story." Dominic didn't flinch, he just nodded. "Deal." The press release went out the next morning. Dominic. Thorne seen with mysterious woman. Sources confirm new relationship. Photos from that night were selectively leaked to make it look romantic, sweet, intentional. They even added fake captions about how they'd quietly begun dating weeks ago. Every major outlet picked it up within hours. Suddenly, Avery's phone was blowing up. Not from friends, but from strangers, from bloggers, from people trying to figure out who the hell she was. By noon, she had a personal security detail. By evening, she was in the back of another black SUV, dressed in a borrowed designer dress, heading to her first public appearance with Dominic. "You look—" He paused, looking over at her as she adjusted the neckline of her dress. "Expensive." She rolled her eyes. "Yeah, well, your assistant picked it. You billionaires have a type." He smirked. "Apparently." The gala was at the Metropolitan Museum, filled with people who had never paid for anything in their lives. Dominic played his part well, charming, protective, perfectly attentive. His hand lingered on the small of her back, just long enough for the cameras to notice. He whispered in her ear and made her laugh like they had inside jokes. He kissed her cheek at just the right angle for a front-page shot. And Avery, she was killing it. No one would have guessed she was a broke freelancer from Brooklyn. She smiled, nodded, sipped champagne, and pretended to be a woman used to having wealth, privilege, power. But behind the glitz, something darker buzzed in her chest. She saw Dominic's fiancée across the room, tall, elegant, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than Avery's rent. Her name was Celeste Darlington. Oil money, board seats, a father who could make or break Dominic's entire company. She was beautiful, yes, but the look in her eyes, that was something else. She wasn't surprised. She was watching. As Avery excused herself and headed toward the hallway for some air, she felt it, the click of heels behind her. "You're not as good an actress as you think." The voice was calm, cold. Avery turned and came face to face with Celeste. "Excuse me?" Avery said, straightening up. Celeste stepped closer. "No cameras here, just marble walls, hushed tones, and too much perfume. I know what this is. The relationship. The sudden affection. The tabloid leaks timed perfectly with the shareholder meeting next week." Avery swallowed hard, but didn't look away. "Then why are you letting it happen?" Celeste smiled without humor. "Because my father doesn't believe a man like Dominic could ever cheat. Not with me, he'd rather believe in love than face the truth about his golden boy." Avery's stomach twisted. "So, you're playing along too?" Celeste's eyes narrowed. "Don't flatter yourself, you're a distraction, a temporary fix. But when this is over, you vanish. No book deal, no exclusive interview. You go back to being no one." The words stung, but Avery forced herself to stay calm. "I didn't ask for any of this." "No," Celeste said, "but you took the money." And with that, she walked away, leaving Avery alone in a hallway that suddenly felt much colder than it had minutes ago. Back in the gala, Dominic found her with 2 flutes of champagne. "Everything okay?" he asked. Avery forced a smile. "Peachy," but something had shifted. She could feel it. This wasn't just a fake relationship. It was a game, and everyone had been playing it long before she showed up. When they left, paparazzi followed the car all the way to his penthouse. They were expected to be together. No separate drop-offs, no pretending. So they rode the elevator in silence. And when the doors opened to the same suite she'd snuck out of that morning after their one-night stand, she hesitated. "You don't have to stay," Dominic said softly. She walked past him anyway. "I'm not sleeping on a couch," he smiled, faintly. Wouldn't dream of offering it. They ended up lying side by side, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling like strangers. After a long pause, she whispered, "Your fiancé confronted me." Dominic didn't move. "What did she say?" "That I'm a distraction, temporary, that I vanish when this is done." He exhaled slowly. "She's not wrong." Avery turned her head toward him. "And what happens if I don't vanish?" He finally looked at her. "Then everything burns." The next week felt like a dream she couldn't wake up from. Avery was everywhere. Not just on gossip sites anymore, but in business columns, social media, even random "Who is she" segments on daytime TV. Her name, her face, her entire online presence was picked apart like meat on a carcass. Some outlets painted her as a mystery muse, a breath of fresh air for Dominic Thorne. Others, they called her a social climber, a nobody with perfect timing. A few even dug into her personal life, past boyfriends, high school yearbook photos, LinkedIn posts from 5 years ago, and then came the comment sections, the trolls. "She's clearly after his money. Another gold digger, what else is new? Hope she knows she's just a rebound from his real fiancé." She stopped opening her DMs, stopped answering texts. Even Tara, her best friend, had called twice asking if she was okay, and Avery hadn't responded, because the truth was, she wasn't. Living in Dominic's world, even temporarily, was like breathing air that wasn't meant for her lungs. Everything was curated, polished, performative. Even breakfast came with a calendar invite, and yet Dominic made it harder and harder to stay angry. He'd started talking more, asking questions, remembering details about her life, her favorite coffee, the way she liked her music soft when she worked, that she hated being cold, but always slept with the window open. He wasn't just the billionaire anymore. He was funny, sharp, gentle when he let himself be. And worse, he seemed to care. That night, they were scheduled to attend a private tech dinner hosted by one of his investors. It was supposed to be simple. Smile, be affectionate, don't drink too much, make it look effortless. But during dinner, the topic shifted to her. "So, Avery," one of the investors asked, swirling his wine, "what do you think about the Valence project?" Everyone looked at her. She blinked. I think it's fascinating, revolutionary even." Dominic glanced at her with a tiny nod, encouraging her. She cleared her throat. "But I also think people are terrified of AI because we keep building it like it's smarter than us, when really it just reflects our worst habits." A pause, then laughter, impressed nods. A woman down the table said, "Wow, she's got a brain. That's new." Avery smiled tightly, but inside she was burning. Later that night, when they were back at the penthouse, she threw her heels off and stormed to the kitchen. "You didn't have to bring me there," she snapped. "You knew they'd look at me. Like a pet project." Dominic followed her in, setting his cufflinks on the counter. "You handled yourself well. Don't patronize me. I'm not some PR trophy for your merger." "I never said you were, but that's what I am, right?" she said, voice cracking. "To them, to your fiancé. Hell, maybe to you too." He stepped closer, voice low. "You think I'd risk everything for just anyone?" She stared at him, heart thudding. "Then why me?" He didn't answer immediately. He looked at her like she was a puzzle he hadn't figured out. "Because you don't need me," he finally said, "and that terrifies me more than you know." Before she could respond, his hand was on her waist, and just like that, the tension snapped. He kissed her, not like the last time, drunk, desperate, impulsive. This was different. Slow. Real. The kind of kiss that wasn't supposed to happen. In a fake relationship. When he pulled back, she didn't say a word, neither did he. They both knew they'd just crossed a line. That night, she didn't sleep on her side of the bed. She didn't sleep much at all, and when she woke up the next morning, his assistant was already buzzing her phone. "Urgent, call me." "It's about the leak." Her stomach dropped, because somehow the story had gotten out anyway. The first thing she saw when she opened the news app was her own face. Exclusive. Billionaire love triangle. The mistress, the fiancé, and the money. Behind it all, Avery's name was in bold. So was the hotel name. Dates, times. Even a photo of her walking out in that damn dress the morning after their one-night stand. Her chest tightened. They didn't just leak the relationship, they leaked everything. She didn't know who she called first, Dominic or his assistant, but by noon she was back in the penthouse, pacing the living room in her sweatshirt and bare feet, while Dominic stood by the window, jaw clenched. "I thought you said this was under control," she snapped. "It was," he muttered, until someone inside flipped. Someone sold us out to someone who had access to internal files, time logs, press schedules. Her voice dropped. "You mean someone close to you?" He didn't deny it. "Who?" she asked. "Celeste? She wouldn't. She confronted me, threatened me, of course she would." Dominic turned around, voice sharper than she'd ever heard. "Celeste may be cold, but she's not reckless. If she leaked this, her father would drop me instantly. She's not stupid." Avery folded her arms, heart racing. "Then who?" He ran a hand through his hair. "There's only one person with that kind of access, someone I've known since I started the company." "Your assistant?" she guessed. He shook his head. "Malcolm." "The lawyer?" Dominic nodded. "He's been with me since day one. He's the one who drafted our NDA, who knew exactly how far we'd push the fake relationship. He's also the only one who would benefit from everything collapsing." "But why?" she whispered. Dominic walked toward her, eyes dark. "Because if I lose this merger, Malcolm gets what he's always wanted. Control over the next investor deal. Without me." Avery's stomach twisted. "So what do we do?" "We fight back," he said. "Together." She stared at him. "What does that mean?" "It means we go public, not with a lie, with the truth. We tell them we met, we had a connection, and we've been figuring it out privately. Nothing scandalous, no timelines, just real." Avery blinked. "So now it's real?" He hesitated, then softly, "It is to me." Those words hit harder than she expected. She looked away. But before she could respond, her phone buzzed again, a number she didn't recognize. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Ms. Collins," the voice said. "This is Talia Grant. I'm a reporter for the Ledger. I know about the NDA, and I know about the hush payment." Avery froze. We have documents, signatures. I'm giving you a chance to speak before this goes to print. Off the record if you prefer. Her mouth went dry. "I have nothing to say." "I think you do," Talia said, "because when they write your name into this story, they won't write it kindly. Right now, you're the woman who slept with a billionaire, took $500,000 and tried to bury the truth. Unless you change the narrative." The call ended. Avery turned to Dominic, blood rushing in her ears. "They have everything." His face was pale. "We're out of time." She stared at him. "Do I need a lawyer?" "You already have one," he said. "Me?" She laughed bitterly. "You're not a lawyer, Dominic." He looked at her, voice low. "I'm the reason you need one." And just like that, Avery realized the one man she was starting to trust might be the very person who ruined her life, because no matter how much money was involved, how many kisses felt real, none of this started with love. It started with a lie. The next day, her name was on every screen in the city. Graphic designer turned billionaire mistress exposed. NDAs, money, and secrets. The real woman behind Dominic Thorne's affair. Did she sell her silence? She didn't leave the penthouse, couldn't. There were cameras outside, drones, paps yelling up from the street like it was a circus. Her email was hacked. Her old portfolio website was down. Every client she'd ever worked with suddenly stopped responding. Tara called 5 times. Avery ignored all of them. She wasn't ready to face the people who knew her before this. Before the fake designer dresses and the silent town cars, and the mornings where she woke up next to a man she was starting to care about. Because now, it was all burned. Dominic's legal team worked around the clock trying to control the story, but it was too late. The documents leaked were real. The money transfer had receipts. Her signature was there in full color, and in the middle of it all, someone sent her a photo. No text. No name. Just a photo of her mother's front porch in Philadelphia. It nearly made her throw up. She called Dominic immediately. "They found my mum." "I know," he said, his voice tight. "I never told anyone where she lived." He sighed into the phone. Then it had to come from Malcolm. She clenched her jaw. "I want this over, Dominic. I want my life back." "You can't go back, Avery. You're in this now," she whispered. "Then get me out." That night, they sat side by side in his office, darkness spilling in through the glass windows. She was curled up in a chair. He was sipping scotch. Neither of them said anything for a long time. Then he looked over at her and said something so quiet it almost slipped past her. "I told Celeste I was calling off the engagement." Avery's heart stuttered. "When?" "Yesterday, right after the story broke." She sat up straighter. "Are you serious?" He nodded. She didn't even argue, just said, "I always knew you'd find a way to ruin this." Avery didn't know whether to feel relieved or guilty. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. "Yes, I did," he said, looking straight at her. "Because I lied. To everyone, but mostly to myself. What we had that night, that wasn't just a mistake. That was the only real thing I've had in years." Her breath caught. He moved closer. "I know I'm the reason your life's on fire. I know I dragged you into this, but I also know I'm not letting you go." Avery looked away, tears pricking her eyes. "It's not that easy, Dominic." "I know. Everyone thinks I sold myself, for money, for fame, for you." He took her hand gently. "Then let's give them something else to talk about," she frowned. "What do you mean?" He reached into a drawer and pulled out a stack of files, emails, photos, transfer records. "This is everything Malcolm did to sabotage us." He said, "And it's going public tomorrow. We're pressing charges, financial misconduct, espionage, wire fraud." Avery's eyes widened. "You're going to war." He nodded. "With the right enemy this time." She stared at the files. At his hand over hers. At the man who had turned her entire life upside down and now wanted to fix it. And in the pit of her stomach something began to shift. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was revenge. The lawsuit went public on a Wednesday morning. By noon, Malcolm Royce's name was trending. Exclusive: Dominic Thorne sues former attorney for breach of confidentiality and fraud. Whistleblower turns on tech empire. Where does the truth end? And what role did Avery Collins really play? Avery sat stiffly at the long glass conference table inside Thorne Industries' legal wing. She was wearing a black blazer, no makeup, hair in a bun, media armor, Dominic called it. The moment was calculated to the second. Across from her sat four of Dominic's corporate lawyers, calm and cool with their folders and bulletproof smiles, and beside her Dominic, suit crisp, hands folded, face unreadable. But Malcolm, he wasn't in the room. He was across the city, hiding behind a PR team and a corporate firewall, claiming he was being made the scapegoat. Didn't matter. Dominic's team had the receipts. Bank transfers to anonymous shell companies, discreet payments to tabloids. He'd been setting them up for months, feeding media leaks, even leaking false contracts to potential competitors to tank the Valence project, all while playing Dominic's right hand. And as soon as the legal motion hit the court docket, everything shifted. Investors started pulling statements. Board members called emergency meetings. Malcolm's reputation, years of it, crumbled in 24 hours. He went from untouchable to radioactive, but none of that changed what Avery had lost. She still hadn't opened her laptop in days. She hadn't called her mother. Her freelance clients weren't coming back. She was still a walking headline, still a punchline on talk shows and Twitter. And she knew no lawsuit would make her whole again. That night, she and Dominic sat on the penthouse balcony. The city buzzed below, pretending not to care. "I didn't expect to win," she said quietly, sipping wine she didn't even taste. Dominic leaned back in his chair. "It's not over." She looked at him. "Exactly." He frowned. "You don't feel better?" "No," she said. "Because everyone's still looking at me like I don't belong in this world." "You don't," he said bluntly. "Neither do I." She smiled, faintly at that. "So what now?" He set his glass down. "I step back. I let the merger fail. I dissolve the Valence launch. I rebuild, quietly, under my own name." Her brows lifted. "You'd walk away from all that money?" "I'd walk away from anything that made me a liar." Avery stared at him. She wanted to hate him still, wanted to hold on to that bitter little ember of betrayal. But the truth, he meant it. Everything she thought was fake. Wasn't. "So what?" "Do you want?" she asked. He turned to her, his voice was steady. "You." She swallowed, but not as a headline, not as a cover story, he added. "Just as you." Avery exhaled slowly. "That's the one thing I never sold." "Exactly," he said. "That's why you scare them. Because you didn't come here to play their game. You just told the truth." And suddenly, she realized she had one last truth left to tell. The next morning, she published a letter on her personal blog. No lawyers, no press team, no sponsor, just her words. "I didn't fall for a billionaire. I fell for a man who didn't know how to be real until everything fake fell apart. I didn't sell my silence. I sold my protection. And if I had known the storm that would follow, maybe I'd have run. But I didn't. Because at the end of it, I still have something no one can spin, my voice. So here I am, telling you everything. The mess, the mistake, the moments that felt too real to be fake. And what I've learned is this: the truth always comes for you. Might as well greet it standing up. It went viral within hours. People called her brave. Some still called her a liar. But this time she didn't read the comments, because she wasn't trying to be understood. She was finally free. It had been 3 weeks since Avery published the letter. The media had finally stopped circling. The headlines moved on to the next scandal, the next rich man behaving badly. Malcolm Royce's case was buried under depositions and court delays. Celeste had vanished from the public eye entirely. No official statements, no follow-ups, just a clean break and a quiet goodbye. And Dominic? He stepped down from his CEO position the day after Avery's letter went live. The merger was scrapped. The investors, furious. But he didn't flinch. He walked away with his name still intact, his fortune slightly dented but untouched. And for the first time in years, he wasn't managing a company. He was just a man. Avery moved back to Brooklyn. Same neighborhood, smaller apartment, nothing fancy, just hers. She didn't take another cent from Dominic. She didn't want it. Not because she had anything to prove, but because money had been part of the lie, and she was done with lies. Her first client came back timidly, then another. Then a magazine asked to interview her, for her work, not her story. She said no. Quietly, slowly, she began rebuilding her life, not the way it was before, but something sharper, something stronger. And then one night, she opened her door and found Dominic standing there. No security, no driver, no fanfare. Just him, holding a coffee. She blinked. "What are you doing here?" "I Googled your favorite spot," he said. "The barista said you always order this. Extra cinnamon, no lid." She stared at him. "You came all the way out here for coffee?" "I came out here because you haven't answered any of my messages." She took the coffee slowly. "Maybe I wasn't ready." "Are you now?" She leaned against the doorframe, half a smile on her lips. "I don't know. What are you even offering, Dominic? There's no more deal, no more merger, no image to fix." He looked at her seriously. "Exactly. That's why I'm here." She folded her arms. "So what are we, huh? What's the label?" This time, he stepped forward, voice quiet. "We don't need one unless you want it." She studied his face. The man who once felt like a stranger in an expensive suit now looked real. Not perfect, but maybe finally honest. "I'm not interested in fairy tales," she said. "Good," he replied. "I'm terrible at them." She took a sip of the coffee. Still warm. Still her favorite. "I'm not moving into another penthouse," she warned, not asking. "I don't want to be someone's shadow. You never were." They stood there for a moment, quiet New York sounds humming in the background, and then, without warning, she reached up, pulled his face down to hers, and kissed him. It wasn't a storybook kiss. It wasn't dramatic or passionate or staged for anyone else to see. It was simple, soft, like something that had been waiting quietly, patiently, for its time to come. When she pulled back, she whispered, "No headlines this time." He smiled. "Just us." And that was enough.